Hello, dear friends. Ken Graves here with GodSword on this Thursday, August 29th, the year 2024. And we come to the fourth chapter of the book of Amos. It's a short chapter. Amos continues to deliver the hard news of the judgment of God upon the covenant people for their rebellion, for their violation of the covenant, and for their wickedness. And so in chapter 4, Amos says, "Hear this word, you cows of Bashan, who are on the mountains of Samaria, who oppress the poor, who crush the needy, who say to their husbands, 'Bring now that we may drink.'" Well, the Spirit of God speaks what is, I suppose, rather offensive, rather insulting. Calls the women of Israel cows. Not just cows, you big fat cows of Bashan. Bashan is a region today we refer to that portion as Golan Heights. It's well watered, it's green, and it was sort of like here in America. Texas has the sort of reputation that everything is big in Texas. That was the deal with Bashan. The prophet Amos, referring to wealthy women, the wives of the oppressors, as cows. Hear this word, you cows of Bashan. And it's the real issue is you oppress the poor, you crush the needy. Say to your husbands, "Bring now that we may drink." And then verse 2, Lord Yahweh has sworn by his holiness that, "Behold, the days are coming upon you, and they will take you away with meat hooks, and the last of you with fish hooks. And you will go out through breaches in the walls, each one straight before her, and you will be cast to Harmon," declares Yahweh. So the judgment is going to come, and it will come in the form of terrible, dreadful conquest, and the description that the days are coming that they'll take you away with meat hooks. It's like a cow of Bashan is going to the butcher, and they'll take you away with meat hooks, but the last of you with fish hooks. Verse 4, enter Bethel, transgress, and Gilgal. Multiply transgression, bring your sacrifices every morning, your tithes every 3 days, and offer a thank offering also from that which is leaven. Call for free will offerings, cause them to be heard about, for so you love to do, you sons of Israel, declares Lord Yahweh. So they go through the motions of religion, but they're worshiping in the northern kingdom in vain, and they're worshiping false gods in an unprescribed way. God said, "But I gave you also cleanness of teeth in all your cities, and lack of bread in all your places, yet you have not returned to me, declares Yahweh." Cleanness of teeth, and that you have nothing to eat. A lack of bread in all your places. And still, despite that famine, despite that experience, they have not returned. He continues, "I also withheld the rain from you, while there were still 3 months until harvest. And then I would send rain on one city, and on another city I would not send rain. One portion would be rained on, while the portion not rained on would dry up. So 2 or 3 cities would wander around to another city to drink water, but would not be satisfied, yet you have not returned to me, declares Yahweh." So God here, the Creator, Yahweh himself, points out to them the troubles that should have caused them to turn to him. The problems, the troubles, the lack of rain. Now, remember, they are a people whose economy is completely dependent upon the agriculture, completely dependent upon their fields yielding fruits. And the reality is that their fields would yield no fruit without rain. And God is the one who, according to the terms of the covenant, would send the rain. And it's the rain that makes the food grow. They are not a place that can just irrigate. It's not like other places where, like in Egypt, because they have the Nile, they can divert water, or other places where the topography allows for irrigation. They are completely dependent. They are semi-desert and completely dependent on rain. Their personal physical needs can be met with the springs, with wells, but the crops won't grow without rain. Their only primary river, the Jordan, small river, flows down the Rift Valley. It flows down the lowest place on earth. And Galilee, the only significant lake, 600 feet below sea level. There's no way to divert that water from down there to up where the fields are. So again, they are completely dependent upon the rain. And God said, I withheld that rain. And you haven't returned to me. He keeps saying, yet you have not returned to me. In verse 9, I struck you with scorching wind and mildew, the gnawing locust, and it was devouring your many gardens and vineyards and fig trees and olive trees, yet you have not returned to me, declares Yahweh. So failing to recognize that these things were expressions of the judgment of God, and failing to respond to God's judgment, and even recognize that that's what was happening, they didn't return. It's dreadful when I consider it. I think so much that is happening in our own nation now. What is happening to us today? The greed that drives big pharma and big ag to create processed foods to sicken the population, while big pharma then treats the sickness, and all of that. The love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. The greed that drives the illicit drug trade, and the millions in bondage to drugs. They have been enslaved, as if another nation had conquered us and made slaves of our sons and daughters. All of the things that are happening around us are things that we ought to be recognizing as things allowed by God to get our attention, but they fail to get our attention. We fail to let them. God. He continues. Verse 10, I sent a pestilence among you. After the manner of Egypt, I killed your choice men with the sword, along with your captured horses. I made the stench of your camp rise up even in your nostrils, yet you have not returned to me, declares Yahweh. So even experiencing pestilence, disease, even after experiencing defeat from their enemies, captured horses, and the stench of rot. Verse 11, I overthrew you as God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, and you were like a firebrand delivered from a blaze. Like a firebrand delivered from a blaze. If you take a burning stick out of the blaze, out of the fire, what is left of it is charred, but the fire goes out. And so it was with Israel. They were just a remnant, like a firebrand delivered from a blaze, and yet you have not returned to me, declares Yahweh. And therefore thus I will do to you, O Israel, because I will do this to you. Prepare to meet your God, O Israel. For he who holds, this is heavy, for he who forms mountains and creates the wind and declares to man what are his thoughts, He who makes dawn into a gloom and treads on the high places of the earth. Yahweh, God of hosts, is his name. In other words, God says to Israel, the one you're about to meet in judgment is the creator of everything. We've seen the power of God demonstrated in creation and yet fail to fear him. Like he's some kind of good old boy in the sky. Our lack of fear of him is one of the things that we and our nation at this time have in common with Israel in the days of the prophet Amos. God have mercy upon our nation. At the same time, I marvel at the mercy that we have and are still being shown. Well, let us pray that our people will recognize, that people will open their eyes. Likewise, let us pray for the nation of Israel that they likewise would open their eyes and recognize that their troubles are the kind that should cause them to look to the God of Israel. The kind of troubles that should cause them to rethink their agnosticism, their lack of faith in religion. Well, there's your study for today. It's a short chapter and only a few minutes, but consider its relevance to us today. I am going to go back to work. Grace and peace to you all.